The Dallas Cowboys and the city of Oxnard proudly welcome you to training camp. The boys are back for a new season and a championship run.
This is when we build the team right here in Oxnard.
In session, lock in, baby.
Welcome into a brand new edition of Special Edition here. I got Nate Newton and Rick Goslin with me. I'm Lindsay Draper, and this is going to be a great show. We're going to tap into everything that's been going on from training camp, guys. Exciting news right now. We are 1 month away from kickoff against the Giants, first home opener for the Cowboys of the season. But let's get into training camp. I thought there was a really good quote I want to hit on. I know you can talk about this. John Kitna this week, guys, said there's a lot of access for the media nowadays, and there's a lot of evaluations going on. This is where we like to try things out here with our players.
Right, and what he was mainly talking about, he was asked a question about Dak and the interceptions and how he's thrown more this year. That is what you're supposed to do. His first year, he was a rookie. He didn't try a lot of things. Last year, he tried a little bit more. But Coach Kitna tells him, hey, man, you got new receivers, you got new players. Try some of these passes so we'll know what to hit on and what not to hit on as the season progresses. Blue-white scrimmage, hey, just a perfect example of that.
When you want to start charting things, chart them when they start hitting. When the preseason starts, regular season starts, that's when you decide if a guy can take a hit or is willing to give a hit. And those are the guys who are going to make this football team.
When the pads come on, they officially are coming on this weekend. Talk to me, guys, about what you've seen. The blue-white scrimmage last week was a really good way for you to kind of get a little look at some of those pads popping. Who stuck out to you? Any young guys?
Without question, Tony Pollard. He's the guy every NFL team is looking for. Alvin Kamara, Chris McCaffrey, James White at the Patriots, Tariq Cohen of the Bears. This is the guy who's primarily a receiver, a returner, and he'll also give you something in the running game. And Cohen and White are both elite players, and they were taken in the fourth round, as was Pollard. I think Pollard is going to be a great dimension. He's not going to be Zeke running the ball, but catching the ball, he's going to take some of that action off his plate, and also returning kicks. He's going to be dynamic.
The safeties, they're not young guys, Ms. Lynn, but they're the guys that I depended on to come in and have a big camp. Jeff Heath and Xavier Woods are playing real well. They rally into the ball. And as Gustav said many times, we're trying to get rid of Jeff Heath, but all he does is wind up with the ball. If it's a fumble on the ground, he's picking it up. If it's a tip in there, he's catching it. They're making plays. As you see right there, they're building confidence, they're gaining trust. And you got to remember, this is their second year with Chris Richard in this defense. So now they got confidence and they're taking charge.
And you just said it, Chris Richard has been a big part of this, guys. And I know that the big thing Cowboys fans are wanting are playmakers on that defense. So hopefully this year can bring a lot of that. Taking a quick break here. We are just getting started on Special Edition. When we come back, we'll dive into a cut that happened this week. One you might have thought might be coming this training camp.
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Salvation Army, doing the most good. And by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. This segment is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. The Texas Lottery proudly supports Texas education and veterans. Play the Texas Lottery today.
Rico can be upset all he wants, but if he was solid or the Cowboys thought they had quality depth at the tight end position, Jason Witten wouldn't be back on this roster.
But I think at the end of the day, his inexperience ultimately was the issue with him.
Rico Gathers didn't know how to play football. That's the bottom line.
Special edition here from the Star. We all know a lot of players come and go throughout training camp, but finally parting ways with Rico Gathers. The writing might have been on the wall a little bit, guys, with just how low production he had in the years that he was here. This came to no surprise, right?
You know what amazes me is I was a free agent coming into the league, and it took me a while to adjust. Had to go to the USFL, had to hang out, with the Redskins, got released from there before it clicked in. maybe Rico can go to another team and it clicks in for him, because what bothered me about Rico is I never saw him doing the extra work. You know, why didn't he hang out with Sean Lee? You know, I mean, it's a defensive guy, but if you hung out with Sean Lee, you would be in this building. I never saw this cat in the building. He came in, talked about highly touted athlete, went out, still a highly touted athlete.
What the Cowboys learned is that every basketball player cannot be Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, and Marcus Pollard. And I think if there were, there'd be a lot more basketball players playing. But you had 3 years, you had 3 catches, it was time to move on.
Wow. Okay, let's get into the tight end depth that they have right now, guys. Obviously, Jason Witten back, and your boy, Blake Jarwin,
yes,
Dalton Schultz out there working. I just want to throw this question out for you guys. Do you think Jason Witten would come back to a team that wasn't a contender? I mean, does where this team is, did that affect him coming back, you think?
Oh, I think very much so. And the only thing missing from his resume is the ring. He sees a chance to win the ring. He's got the stats. He's got Hall of Fame numbers. You need that ring, though. 68% of everybody in Canton has a championship ring. He needs that ring.
68%.
You know, Jason, before he left us to go do a short time with the networks, you know, he was the type of guy, he believed in handling his business. He believed in showing guys more about what it was about, how to be a pro. Now he's coming in being a little bit more verbal, and we need that for Blake Jordan. We need that for Dalton Schultz. And because when he go on the field and take away those reps for Blake Jordan and Dalton Schultz, they got to be locked in. And now I think for the first time, and not saying it didn't happen before, but that tight end lock room is locked in and they're loaded, man. And with those 3 guys, once we find the chemistry, they're going to rock and roll.
Yeah, I like the mix. You've got the receiver in Jarwin, you got the blocker in Schultz, and you got Witten. Now the question is, how many snaps does Witten get? And does he take snaps away from Jarwin in the passing game? Does he take snaps away from Schultz in the run game? I think you've got to limit Witten's snaps and give these 2 kids, they're your future, a chance to develop. I guess this could be a 5-year set, these 2 young kids. You got to get them on the field, and it can't be a Witten-generated tight end position.
And
It won't.
That, you know what's interesting is Witten said earlier this week. He said earlier this week, guys, my mindset has shifted since coming back. When I played for Bill Parcells, he told me, be ready for 60 plays. Be physically ready. Be fit. That's why he said that's why I always wanted to play. But now coming back, I understand my body can be ready. It might not happen. Might not be in all those plays. You think he's getting it?
Red zone is where he's special. Short yardage is where he's special. But when you come out on the 20, Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz should be always in that mix. Now, you get tighter and tighter inside. Closer you get to the 5-yard line, that's where he becomes bigger. You know, with his crisp route running, his trickery, that's where he becomes. And he can share that with these guys, not only in the classroom, but on the field. But I'm telling you, I've watched snippets of Blake Jarwin. This dude is doing his thing. He's doing damage. And so they cannot get away from that. And I think they won't. And I think for the first time, Jason don't feel like he have to do those 60 plays. Before he felt it. Now he's coming back and truly being a part of this team.
Yeah, NFL offenses today are about big chunks of yardage gained. You're not going to get that with Witten. We saw that from Jarwin last year, the last game of the season, 100-yard games, 3 touchdowns. That's how you beat teams in this league. If you want 5 yards, Jason Witten will get you 5
That's
yards.
right.
If you want 8, he'll get 8. If you want 30, you better be throwing it to Jarwin.
Here we are, solving all the world's problems for the offense. Quick break here. When we come back, we'll check in with Stephen Jones on his thoughts from Oxnard.
This segment was brought to you by the Texas Lottery. The Texas Lottery proudly supports Texas education and veterans. Play the Texas Lottery today. This segment is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas.
Special edition continuing here. Now, the Cowboys will come back to continue training camp at Ford Center at the Star, but Stephen Jones is not afraid to hide it. He loves going to California. Nick Eatman has more.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. And we are joined, as always, here by Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. And Stephen, just like that, it's been 3 full weeks of training camp here. I have to think, though, just like always, it's been some really good production out here.
Yeah, I mean, coming out to California is just great conditions for a team to come out here, focus, get away from the day-to-day of what they've been going through with families, with friends, with girlfriends, whatever you want to call it, but to get away and focus on football. And then the other thing is the weather's just so conducive to staying focused on the task at hand. I mean, some of these camps you go to, I grew up doing 2 days in the heat. You're more in a survival mode than you are almost in a let's learn, let's get better, let's focus, as I said, on the task at hand. And I think our players have done a great job out here of really getting focused. We've still got a very young team, a lot of young guys that we're implementing into the group, and I just think they've done a great job really getting after it, having the players, really learn what we're trying to do. Obviously, we've got a new offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore, and I know a lot of his wrinkles, we were able to install, and the players, I think, are really taking to what he's bringing to the table. So overall, I give us an A in terms of the preparation and what we've gotten accomplished out here.
Let's talk real quick about a group that comes out for a little bit, not the entire part of camp, but the scouts. Will McClay and his group, they're looking at what's going on the field here, and then they get a chance to take it to around the league and kind of maybe compare with how your team stacks up with others.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we want them out here. They get a good dose of it. They get a good feel for our team. Obviously, they've gotten a decent feel, without the pads when they're at mini camps and quarterback schools and those type of things. But to actually get out here and see them work against each other, see them live in pads, I think is so beneficial. And then at the same time, obviously, they're starting to get ready to go on the road in college too. And that same comparison certainly helps when you get a college player after watching these pros go firsthand, to see guys that say, yeah, this guy would fit. It's not too big for him. He'd be a great fit in our organization as they go and visit these colleges and start to visit with the college coaches and look at what they're doing around the country.
All right, well, stay with us here, because when you come back, we're going to talk about it. If we think this weather's nice, we're about to go to a place that could be just as nice, maybe even a little bit better. So stay with us here. We'll throw it right back to Lindsay in the studio.
And we're going to take a quick break, but much more to come here on Special Edition right after this.
This segment was brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. This segment is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing.
Let's head back out to Oxnard and check in with Stephen Jones on some experiments that didn't work at training camp and ones that are.
Thanks again, guys, and we are joined once again by Stephen Jones. Obviously, there was an experiment with Rico Gathers, and that ended earlier this week. Can you just talk a little bit about when you guys decided, this was time for us to move in a different direction?
Well, we had a wise coach come through here, Bill Parcells, and he had a great way of saying it. When you go for these moonshots, you go for these young developmental guys who may not be as developed. And obviously, Rico, I don't think he had played football since the 7th grade when we drafted him, but had, amazing skills in terms of not only his skills but his physical stature, and felt like there was a chance we could develop him into possibly a tight end in the NFL.
Right at the 38, and a play fake and a boot to the right. Prescott down the field to a wide open Rico Gathers at the 40.
As Bill said, you give those guys usually 2 years in a training camp, and if the dog's not biting by then, he may not bite. So Rico did a great job for us in all seriousness, and he, it was a big step for him to go from being a full-time basketball player to, really try to, get his football IQ going. I mean, it's a lot of work, and especially to do it at an NFL level. And we just felt like, we had really spent the time on him to do everything we could. It may be that it works for him to hear it, a different way from a different staff, from a different coach, from a different personnel guy, and he could ultimately find his way. We've seen that happen too, but we felt like we'd let it run its course, and it was time.
The story came out right after the draft. Thought about taking a safety there in the 2nd round, but Xavier Woods has been playing so well. You know what? I really feel like he's going to be able to emerge and have a really good year. And so far, we're seeing some really good things.
Well, the hardest thing to find in a safety is the guy who can make plays on the ball. That center fielder who can play the ball, has the ball skills, and can also be physical enough to come up and make the tackles, be an accurate tackler. You don't necessarily at that role, have to knock their head off on every play, but but to be able to make the plays on the ball, and he's done that day in and day out here at training camp.
What do you like about getting a chance to leave here, go to Hawaii? I mean, when you saw that on the schedule, what does that mean not only for the game of football, but for these players, the coaches, yourself, get a chance to go over there?
I mean, to really take our brand over there and be able to take the Cowboy star and take it over to Hawaii. It's my understanding we sold the game out in less than 24 hours, and I don't even know if they've had another sellout in Aloha Stadium, but it's going to be a great opportunity for the players. I'm sure, there's going to be a lot of people who travel over there. They've never been to Hawaii, which is going to be super for them to get to see another part of the world and get to enjoy it. It's beautiful. I've been fortunate enough to get to go. There's not many places you'd rather be than Hawaii, but to get to go over there and play a football game and let people touch and feel the Dallas Cowboys play, obviously, against a team that had eliminated us last year, the Rams, a great football team, a great organization, really making their mark in L.A.
So you'll see you there. You'll be down some deep sea fishing or snorkeling or anything like that. Won't have time for that.
I don't think this trip's one of those trips. I think we're going to barely have time to get in there, get the pads out, and play a game and head back to Dallas.
That's probably by design. All right, thanks so much for joining us, Stephen. We'll see you next week on Special Edition. Back to you guys.
All right, after this final break, we're going to get back into some big topics at this training camp, one of them being a high draft pick that we have not seen practicing. That and much more next.
This segment was brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. Special Edition, presented by AT&T, was brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. AT&T, more for your thing, that's our thing. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' films and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
You cannot negotiate contracts in the media.
He's scheduled to make $13.9 this year.
For Zeke, it's personal. For Jerry, it's sport. I mean, this is what he does, the art of the deal.
If they are offering Dak Prescott top 5 quarterback money, he is crazy, in my mind, not to take it.
All right, as we wrap it up, it's time for 4 downs. First down for you fellas. Who of the big 3 is getting paid first?
Dak.
It has to be, right?
Dak,
no
yeah.
question.
Then Zeke is the easier to sign because he's number 1 at his position in the league and on this team, but Dak is the quarterback, so you pay him.
Yeah, he's going to get the biggest chunk of the pie. You figure out what's left for the other 2 guys once you sign.
Are you guys concerned, second down, that we haven't seen anything from Connor McGovern in training camp? He's had a strained pectoral. Nate, you can kind of talk to this position and how much work you really need to be a factor.
Yes, he's a rookie. Got to get up to speed. I know a strained pec, but as an offensive lineman, everything we do is about the chest, about punching, about moving, about grabbing, about holding. So I understand that he's out, but I'm looking at Connor Williams, the goose, and he's not adding up at that left guard.
Yeah, I think McGovern would have been a big factor. He's your backup. He's insurance at center. He can play any 3 of the inside spots. He's your fallback guy if Williams struggles.
Third down, true or false, and we've talked about this a little bit, will Xavier Woods lead the team in interceptions this season?
No, I want Woozier to lead the team in interceptions because I like when corners lead. But I want him to get his. I saw this kid play in college, a good guy.
Yeah, I like Woozier too. And the key about this defense is the last cornerback to intercept 6 passes in the season was Larry Brown in 1995. They need a cornerback to step up and make plays. He's got the best chance. All
right, but you guys have said the safeties look really good in this camp.
They look nice. They're awesome.
Okay.
Xavier Woods and Jeff Heath. They are a duo waiting to explode on the league.
Isn't it crazy how all the fans have been wanting the Cowboys to sign another safety, and you're stuck with these 2, but they look pretty dang good.
Second year with the defensive pass coordinator.
All right, here we go. 4th down, fill in the blank. Blank needs to have a good preseason to solidify his spot on the team.
Kerry Hyder.
That's a good
has
one.
to play well. It's a log jam at defense, and he has to play well and make some things happen. And my other guy is Daniel Ross, defensive tackle. We drafted a guy. We signed Christian Covington. So it's a log jam. These guys got to play, Goose.
Tavon Austin, for the same reason Rico gathers, it's time to do something.
Tavon in.
He was his speed. You ran a 4.34 at the combine. His speed made him a top 10 pick. His speed got him to the Cowboys. 14 offensive touches last year, not good enough.
How is there any room for Tavon on this roster when you look at the numbers?
He's the number 4 guy right now. Coming through practice and what I've seen him heard, he's the number 4 guy behind the big 3.
That's why he needs to have a good camp.
Needs to be a good one. Finishing off strong. Obviously, camp is moving back to Dallas in the next couple of weeks, so definitely go on to thestarinfrisco.com to get some tickets to come out and hang. Goose, Nate, I'm Lindsay. We will see you guys next week on a brand new edition of Special Edition.